electronic or remote means. Ms. Kupka. I think we lost her again. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Bennett?
I don't know if it's got on.
Looks like his speaker's turned off.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have your speaker turned off.
off. Your mute.
Speaker's turned off. Well, Mr. Bennett, as you can see, is participating remotely. Mr. Morris?
James Morris, attending remotely.
Mr. Parker?
Alan Parker attending remotely.
Ms. Kupka was on the call. She will probably be back in. And this is Kathy Bender, chairperson, attending remotely. I now turn it over. Staff and the clerk are responsible for receiving public comment. Notice of opportunities for the public to access and participate have been widely disseminated on the county website and through other county resources. I direct the clerk to include this statement and the members remotely participating and those physically present to be memorialized in the minutes. And now we have an invocation by Mr. Bennett, but we'll see if he can get his microphone on. If not, I'll take over. All right, I will do an invocation. I'll keep it very brief. Please, Lord, make us all make wise choices in the days ahead, and God bless each and every member of King George County. Thank you. Mr. Weekly.
Okay. Sure, if you could see the flag in the background, please stand as we recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Weekly, are there any amendments to the agenda?
No amendments, Madam Chair.
All right, now at this time, we'll open public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. If comments relate to a specific public hearing item, we ask that you offer those comments at the time of the public hearing. Do we have any public people online that would like to speak?
No, Madam Chair.
Right. Do we have any written correspondence?
I do not, Madam Chair.
All right, I will pause for 1 minute just to make sure that there is no one from the public that is having trouble unmuting, just so that they can be heard. I will pause for 1 minute now. Thank you. All right, do we have a motion on the consent agenda? Oh, whoops, sorry, I jumped ahead. Apologize on that one. Reports from members of the board. Mr. Bennett, would you like to go first? We lost you again, Mr. Bennett, we lost you again. You were,
Madam Chair, I'd like to advise, I received a text from Mr. Bennett. He states that he has a bad network connection that is going in and out, so please bear with him. I'd recommend that you go ahead and move forward with the next director's report.
I will, and if we could come back, I'll read your report, Mr. Bennett, or we can give it at the end. Mr. Morris.
Nothing to report, ma'am.
Mr. Parker.
No report, ma'am.
Ms. Kupka, did we get you back on the line? I don't see her online. My report is just I want to thank every member of the Service Authority that has been serving our customers and doing a great job. Thank you, everyone, and Mr. Weekly and your staff. Good call. Good job, guys. And that's all I have for my report. So Mr. Bennett, can you get in again?
Mr. Bennett has, Madam Chair, Mr. Bennett has texted, he has no report.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to accept the consent agenda. It's written.
In a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Bennett still is not able to get it. Any nays? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Mr. Parker, Mr. Morris, and myself. Hold on, let me scroll.
Madam Chair, I don't know if you can
Yes.
take a vote. Mr. Bennett has texted me to vote aye. If that's acceptable, I just want to make sure that's part of the record.
Mr. Britton, is that acceptable?
Yes, you can vote electronically at this meeting
All right.
under the rules.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Mr.
I'd also like to advise that I received correspondence from Ms. Kupka. She said she is attending the meeting. I'm not sure if she had audio problem, microphone problem, but she said that her vote is aye likewise.
Thank you. And Dr. Young, your microphone is echoing, just so you know. Do we have any presentations and reports? Oh, report from the county attorney. Sorry, Mr. Britton, almost took your thunder. You're up. You're up.
That's fine because I have no report, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any presentations and reports, Mr. Weekly?
No presentations and reports, just the action item coming up from Ms. Ward.
All right, we have our first action item. That's SA 0604, adoption of FY 2020-2021 budget. Ms. Ward, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon and evening, Madam Chair. Finance Department is asking for the adoption of the 2021 King George County Service Authority operating capital budget. The total budget includes both operating and capital expenditures for the King George County Service Authority and includes the rate increases as proposed. The total budget is $6,823,156. The recommended action would be to adopt the 2021 budget, and that amount, $6,823,156.
All right, do I have a motion on that?
Motion to adopt the 2021 budget.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, I'm going to do a roll call since we're having some audio problems with two of our board members. For aye, Mr. Parker, can you please state your vote?
Mr. Parker, aye.
Mr. Morris?
Mr. Morris, aye.
Ms. Kupka, Dr. Young, Mr. Weekly, can you get from Mr. Bennett or Ms. Kupka?
One moment, Madam Chair, I've texted Mr. Bennett.
Madam Chair, Ms. Kupka says aye.
Thank you, Dr. Young.
Madam Chair, Mr. Bennett votes aye.
All right. And any nays? Chair votes aye, motion carries. Ms. Ward, next up is SA 0605, appropriation of FY 2020-2021 budget.
This is for the resolution of appropriation of the 2021 King George County Service Authority operating and capital budget. The attached resolution sets out the service authority's operating and capital budget by function for FY 2021. The recommended action would be to adopt the resolution as presented for appropriation of 2021 King George County Service Authority operating and capital budget in the amount of $6,823,156.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Do I have a motion?
I move to appropriate the funds for fiscal year 2021 as set forth in the resolution as presented.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Morris will second.
All right. Any discussion? I'll do a roll call vote once again. Mr. Parker,
Mr. Parker, aye.
Mr. Morris,
Mr. Morris, aye.
Mr. Weekly, Dr. Young, can you get Mr. Bennett and Ms. Kupka's vote?
Ms. Kupka is aye.
Mr. Bennett is aye.
Thank you. Any nays? Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is SA 0606, adoption of FY 21 rates and regulation amendments. Ms. Ward.
Madam Chair, this would actually be myself.
Presented by Mr. Weekly.
Oh, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Weekly.
Okay. This is for the adoption of the FY 21 rates and regulation amendments. We went over these both in May, plus the last rate public hearing that we had. So we included in your board packet not only the summary of those sections that were revised, but also a clean final copy in your packet. So Madam Chair, my recommendation would be for the board of directors to adopt the FY 21 rates and regulation amendment as presented.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll do a vote by roll call once again. Mr. Parker.
Do we need to make a motion?
Oh, sorry, I apologize. Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I move to adopt the rates for fiscal year 2021 and the amendments to the King George Service Authority rules and regulations as presented.
All right. Do I have a second?
Mr. Morris will second.
All right. Any discussion? Now do my votes by roll call. Mr. Parker,
Mr. Parker votes aye.
Mr. Morris.
Mr. Morris votes aye.
All right. Can we get Mr. Bennett and Ms. Kupka once again?
Ms. Kupka is aye.
Mr. Weekly, did you get Mr. Bennett yet?
Looks like Mr. Weekly's frozen.
Yes. Well, we have enough for our motion. So, chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is the general manager's report. Is Mr. Weekly able to report? Because I have seen that his screen has gone dark. Is everybody there?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see him now.
Ma'am, Mr. Weekly has
Yes.
had technical issues, so we're going to swap computers so he can deliver his general manager's report.
Okay, we'll pause and wait. Thank you, Dr. Young.
Oh, you want to use Chris? Yeah. 1 minute, ma'am.
Mhm.
One second, Madam Chair, he's adjusting the Madam Chair, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. For my general manager report, just a brief report, just to give you some updates. First of all, we had our first billing cycle from Muni Billing. There's just a few concerns that we are addressing. Some of the updates is making sure we add text that clearly identify who we make payments to. That's been one of the questions that will be added to the bills that go out for the next cycle. We're working on some credit balance transfers. We believe the data files that were transferred over on March 31st didn't capture some of those items, so we're working through that. So we just ask that if the general public has any questions or concerns, please continue to call our offices at 540-775-2746 to report any issues to us. Muni Billing has been very prompt into providing follow-up and answering our customers' questions and resolving matters for us. Second, I don't see the GM report before you, but second, I just want to let you know that today I issued the draft Perkins Corner wastewater treatment plant, PER. So please review that, as we have a slideshow presentation by Wiley Wilson on June 16th. As you may recall, they explored 3 different treatment options for the board of directors to consider if the board of directors chooses to construct a new facility at that location. As you may be aware, there's a public hearing following our meeting that will be addressing development that will definitely directly affect Perkins Corner. So please just take at your leisure to develop any questions. If you have any questions when you go through that report, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to compile questions ahead of time, but there will also be opportunity at that meeting to have follow-up with Wiley and Wilson. Just some other quick notes. We added a front public entrance, a walkway for the general public. That's the temporary. We use some gravel base. We will be coming back with sidewalk at sometime in the near future. But part of the reopening plan was to create a separate space for public to come in and interface. So for those of you who, next time you come by the office at our headquarters, you will notice the plexiglass and the door and all entryway we have for our customers. Signage is expected to come in this week. We will mount that on a 4x4 post just to clearly delineate our public entrance. Lastly, we need to work on some fencing and signage for other remote sites. Mr. Bennett, I thank you, sir. He shared some photos where folks were parking at some of our locations. We realize the weather is nice. Folks may bring their boats and other things, but we will be putting up signage to basically for authorized vehicle and personnel only to clearly mark those areas and try to either fence off or chain off whatever necessary to avoid parking by non-authority personnel. Madam Chair, that concludes my general manager's report. Are there any questions?
I have a question for you, Mr. Weekly.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Is
This is Parker.
there any way we could adjust the website to say who those checks and whatnot are supposed to be made out to? I knew that was a big question that was asked by a number of people, and the website has the old information on it,
Okay.
who to make the checks out to, and whatnot, but it doesn't have any of the new muni billing information.
Okay. Yes, sir. My apologies. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. So yes, sir, we will definitely have that updated tomorrow. And that was our number one, I guess, customer complaint or issue that was raised to us. So we will definitely update that site tomorrow, as well as we will have that text on the bill. I looked at our bill that came in because we receive bills ourselves for like Hop Yard or wherever we're using our services. And it was clear that although there was address, it didn't, clearly identify make payment, payable to the following. So yes, sir. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. We will update the website tomorrow, and we will also have that text added to the bills before they go out next time.
I think that'll make everybody very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is that all, Mr. Weekly?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you for your report, Mr. Weekly. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion that we adjourn this meeting of the Service Authority till our next scheduled day on June 16th, 2020.
Okay, at 5:30 PM at King George High School?
Correct.
Madam Chair,
All right,
let's
Mr.
cover
Parker.
the seconds.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, and I'll do that by roll call. Mr. Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Morris?
Morris, aye.
And do we have Ms. Kupka or Mr. Bennett?
Ms. Kupka votes aye.
I do not have Mr. Bennett yet.
I'll wait a second.
Mr. Bennett had advised that he was moving to another computer, but that was right in the middle of the general manager's report, so he's probably not going to return in time for a vote.
I've gotcha. Chair votes aye. Before adjournment, I would like to read the statement. This meeting is hereby adjourned to the next regularly scheduled meeting on June 16th, 2020 at 5:30 PM at King George High School. That meeting may be held by electronic means and remote participation only, and may be closed to the public. Hold on, I'm having trouble with my microphone. That meeting may participation only and may be closed to the public being physically present. All citizens are encouraged to participate in advance or during the meeting by electronic means as provided by the county. I now adjourn this meeting and we